Hey guys, welcome back to another Star Wars video on the channel. This time we are doing a Star Wars Jedi Survivor video. So I thought I'd do a video devoted to pretty much me talking about my thoughts on the game. Since I pretty much beat the main story within a couple of days and I finished exploring everything a couple of days ago. I know that says 99, but after I recorded this footage I actually went back and did what I missed, which was actually literally just buying a few things from Sister Task on Jeddah. So I managed to fix that up, get the 100%, did all the achievements as well, beat the main story, got all the collectibles. So I thought it was a good time to actually talk about my thoughts on this game and giving everyone a chance to actually play the game before I talked about anything. Because it's been almost a month, give or take, since the game first got released. So I thought it would be a good time to get into it. So there's a few things we're going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to use Sammy Boy's guide as a good idea, talk about gameplay, you know, the planet level design, the boss fights, the overall, how the game runs in relation to the main story. That's a few things I'm going to touch on, and then I'm going to touch on my personal favourite things in the game, thoughts on how a sequel could go or anything like that. But without further ado, we're going to get started. The first thing I definitely want to talk about today is the gameplay, because everyone's going to want to know how this game fares compared to Jedi Fallen Order. And I think it's definitely fair to say that this game is quite a step up compared to the first one. The gameplay is very well, I guess, refined is the word, and along with the stances add a new variety to how you fight your opponents in the game. Given single and double blade were in Jedi Fallen Order, I definitely think they've done a good job with keeping some familiar animations from that game, but also adding some new ones to kind of, I guess, show Cal's progress from the 5 years gap that this game's set between. So I think those two stances are really good. I mean, I used a double blade pretty quickly early on, so that was good fun. And literally by the time you finish your first planet, you've already got 3 of the 5 stances already, so I think that's pretty good. It gives you a chance, to get familiar with the game, how the game runs, and then you get a chance to pretty much have the 3 early stances. So I think that's pretty good for players in a sense, you don't wait too long to get everything, because players just want to try everything out, especially those of you who kept up to date with, the trailers, the gameplay footage, etc. Being able to try them out early, I think was really good decision by the developers for this game. So that was really good. But just touching on the variety of the stances as well, I've had a bit of a playthrough, with all of them, upgraded all the skills. They're definitely all very unique, I guess, play styles in terms of the stances, which I think is really good. It gives you a chance to kind of pick and choose, when to use them, their strengths and weaknesses in battle. I think it just adds a bit of variety, it just, the vibe I get is having your own, I guess, loadout in Star Wars Battlefront or something, where you choose what star cards you want, what gun you use, etc. Gives you a different way to kind of play the game, instead of just always rushing in there, swinging your lightsaber, using your force powers. It actually, I guess, encourages you to actually think through how you're going to fight an enemy as you're fighting them, Or even if you die a few times, you can kind of just find a meditation point, change your stances. It actually really encourages you to think through how you're going to approach each area / enemies, which I think is really good. Being able to actually think your way through situations in a game like this, where it's fully 100% single player and exploration. I think that's a really important thing, because you don't want a game that's too easy, but you don't want it that's too hard either. Because for a single player game's longevity for content is always a struggle. So I think it's really important to actually give players an opportunity to actually, use what they like and use it in the appropriate situation. So I think that was quite a nice touch. In terms of the opponents gameplay wise, their animations are pretty good. Obviously, like any game, you got to get familiar with their animations, their attack patterns, etc. But they were definitely all unique. None of them really felt that repetitive either. And they used some assets from Fallen Order, which was nice, for the Scouts, Troopers, and Purge Troopers, and even Stormtroopers. Using some of their animations was pretty much simple. Keeps it, simple to how the Empire is. Your Stormtroopers, they all shoot a similar way, always have a grenade, etc. So yeah, the enemies, it didn't feel never felt repetitive to me at any point. Like obviously when you see an enemy, like after fighting them, you kind of know who it is and what their attacks are like after a while, but it didn't feel repetitive as you're playing through the main story the first time, which was quite nice. Like, you know, you see a different enemy, you go, oh, okay, how are they going to attack me? You know, you really got to think about it. And I definitely think the variety was really good. So I was pretty happy with that myself, personally. And speaking of which, that will lead into some of the boss fights, which I'll mention now. That's the same thing with like your normal NPC enemies that you come across in Jedi Survivor. The boss fights are all very unique in terms of how they fight, what their fighting style is, the best ways to counter them, etc. I think that was really well done as well. So there will be some spoilers here. So obviously fighting like Nine Sister, Ravis, Darth Vader, a few mini boss fights, and obviously Boda Kuna. That's a bit of a spoiler there. They're all have very different styles. It's kind of reminiscent in a way of, you know, your stances in a way. I guess like just think of Darth Vader's like a crossguard stance in a way, except no crossguard. Nine Sister is obviously double blade with some heavy attacks, and Ravis is just like outright crossguard, just like really heavy. I don't know, like it just, you get a vibe from it, like, you know, the way you attack with certain stances are kind of not fully reminiscent, but very similar to how they fight, and it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what you can use to kind of counter that. Like, obviously you got to think about it, but you don't have to think too hard, you kind of just react on the fly. But basically what I'm saying is I was pretty happy with how they were designed in terms of animations, and yeah, that's pretty much what I was getting to. But to be able to fight Darth Vader in this game, I actually couldn't believe that happened. I sadly did get spoiled of it, but honestly we probably would have predicted it anyway. I'll touch a little bit more on Vader later on, but I was basically pretty happy with the boss fights. Didn't feel too repetitive. Like obviously you fight Dag and Gera 3 times, but at the same time you fought the second sister 3 times or so in Fallen Order, so it didn't feel too repetitive. The fights were different, like, you know, the first one he just has his one lightsaber, then I think he gets like a double blade later on with having like a hallucinated hand or something. So it wasn't repetitive, it was pretty good. It's like what they did with Fallen Order with the second sister, you know, like every boss fight was slightly different. Like she'd have new animations you'd come across while having some of the ones earlier on. So they did that well again in terms of fighting him. Having to fight Ravis twice in like one boss fight was definitely a surprise too, but it was also very nice. You know, definitely, as I said, it touches on making you think about how to actually fight him, because we all would have died at least once or twice fighting Ravis, because he was quite a beast, and it was nice just to see a Gendai come back in the Star Wars media, because we hadn't really seen one since Dirge in like the early 2000 Clone Wars like cartoony type shows. So that was a nice touch there, which will bring me into the level design. The areas in which you fight the bosses were a good start too. Like, they're always usually very isolated areas where it really feels like a kind of a battle, like a duel, you know. So that was nice. And obviously the lead up to get to all these areas was really good. Like, they did a good job visually with the planets. As you can see in the background here, Coruscant looks pretty darn awesome. They did a really good job of like connecting all the areas, but actually still making you go through the area before you can access like a shortcut, which they did a lot of in Fallen Order as well. But there was shortcuts there, but you can't actually trigger them or, you know, pretty much get them until you go through the area first, which is really nice. It obviously makes you want to explore, but makes you go through the main story, which I think is a nice touch. But then it helps you when you die, because then you don't have to take that same route again, you know. So they did that really well. The different type of movement as you're exploring is really good, like being able to mount creatures like the Neko, which was really good as well. A lot of climbing, which was really nice. I mean, they stepped it up from Fallen Order. And one thing I noticed early on was Cal actually climbs a lot quicker in this game, which I think was really nice. Kind of compensates for the amount of time you actually climb. The wall running was good. The grapple was good as well to be able to access areas, and even unlocking like the jump, like mid-air dash, was really good. You know, helps you get around the map easier. So that, and obviously mentioning on that too, the fast travel was another beautiful feature, which is something we really needed. Because I remember everyone having trouble on Zepho in the first game, so that was a good feature. Which I'll mention the meditation points and the skill trees here as well, now that we're talking about fast travel. I was pretty happy with those, like having a unique skill tree for like each stance, you know, the force powers and survival. I think that was really well branched out. Definitely showed how much effort they put into actually working on making the game more refined in terms of your combat and survivability. I think that was really well done as well. And which reminds me that now that I'm looking at the screen as I'm talking here, the customization was another good thing they've done as well. They really branched out on the outfits you wear, the BD1 customization, along with the lightsaber. The lightsaber I was pretty impressed with. Like, I've seen a lot of videos on lightsaber builds, and I've been quite amazed with what people are coming up with. So that was another good feature as well. The one thing I wish we had customization on was actually the mantis, which is one thing that Fallen Order actually has that this game doesn't. So that would have been nice as well. Yoke, that guy gets cheated. Another thing that I actually noticed that this game hopefully will have in future updates is like, kind of like what Fallen Order had with like a battle grid kind of area, where you can actually fight NPCs later. Like, obviously for PC, I think there's a way, I'm assuming I think it's a mod where you can spawn in any NPC you want and actually fight them, or have like NPC AI battles, so to speak. But obviously those on console don't really get that chance. So I hope there's a way, or they'll add an option where you can actually obviously do another battle grid thing, give you a reason to actually do them, like a good reward. I think a good reward for that would be Dagan Gera's lightsaber hilt, because we never actually got that. That's really an option for customization. Like, we literally leave his lightsaber with Bode after Bode took it at the end of the game, so like, why not? They should have let us unlock it at the end of the game, I think. But look, if they had that as a reward, I think everyone would want to do these like battle grid / challenges, and I think that'd be a good option going forward. So that's something I think, because, you know, you need to give people a reason to come back, you know. Like, I'm still playing the game for like the extra difficulty photo mode, which photo mode is another great feature in this game. I think they've really upped the ante on that, like giving you more options, more filters, backgrounds, etc. So I'm really enjoying that. If you guys want to, like, after this playthrough, the second playthrough I'm doing, I'm more than happy to do a video of simply showing off all my photos in like a video and just have some Survivor music in the background or something. If that's something you want, feel free to definitely let me know. What else do I need to talk about? Yes, the main story. We haven't touched much on that yet, but again, for those who haven't played the game or want to avoid spoilers, I definitely recommend not staying, because I've kind of been reasonably good with spoilers so far. The main story, the premise of it was really good. Like, I definitely thought it was a really good plot. Obviously, we knew with trailers we were going to get this Dagan Gera and Reyes, and it was kind of speculated early on that he was like a High Republic Jedi, and turns out he was. But connecting all the areas together was a really good feature, like having the Empire, you know, the High Republic, the battle droids from the Clone Wars. That was really nice. It definitely spiced up the story and just shows how connected the Star Wars universe can be, but also on a planet like Kobo, where a lot of the story is, like how isolated the universe actually is, in terms of like a one planet and what goes on. Now I thought it was a really good story, like to be able to like basically try and access a planet that's free from the Empire and is hidden. I thought it was a really nice feature, because obviously, look, early days for Star Wars, when anyone would have explored the galaxy, obviously there's hyperspace lanes or routes to certain planets that people don't explore. Like, think of Star Wars Rebels when they went through that, I think it was like a nebula to access Lyrasan. Like, to be able to go to areas where no one's really gone, and like just to have a bit of an unknown in the Star Wars universe for Star Wars itself, I think is really good. You know, because it's easy to go back to a familiar planet, which that's one thing they've done good for the last 2 games, is actually show us new planets while also having some familiar ones. So I think that's a really good feature, to actually show how big Star Wars is as a universe, but to also show, like, connect all the Star Wars media together. So I think they did that really well. The pacing for the main story also was really good. Similar pacing to kind of Fallen Order. It didn't feel too rushed, didn't feel too long either. I think it was really well done. I don't have really any faults with it, to be honest with you. Like, just, again, connecting all the Star Wars media together, like, all the eras, and actually giving Cal and the crew a reason to actually keep fighting, and basically choose how to fight the Empire, which I think was really good, because Rebels touched a bit on that with Kanan and Ezra figuring out the best way to properly fight the Empire, without actually, I guess, fighting them head on, if that makes sense. And I was pretty happy with it. Obviously, I did get spoiled for a few things, but I think as I played, I probably would have figured some things out anyway. I was pretty happy with actually being able to fight Darth Vader, but I'm glad it was Sia who fought him instead of Cal. I don't think Cal's quite ready for Vader yet. I'll probably expect him to fight Vader if there's going to be a third game, which I think there will be. But I think they did see his character very well. Like, I watched an interview with the actress Deborah Wilson, I think her name is. Like, she was ready to let the character go because the story needed it to be. Like, it's kind of saying what Freddie Prinze Jr. did with Kanan. I thought that was really well done. The fight itself was pretty good. I've seen a lot of people complain about it, but what people got to remember though is the cutscenes are definitely part of a canon fight, but how you fight Vader during the actual fight sequence when you're playing it is obviously going to be different, if that makes sense. But look, I think it was really well done. Obviously, like Vader, anyone who doesn't fear him, he's always going to have a challenge. So look, I think that was really well done, to be honest. It was well executed. The death scene was quite emotional too. Like Cal's, I think, connecting with her through the Force with their final moments, you know. And I just think it was well done. Like, it was a good choice for her to go down because I think it needed to happen. Obviously, going in, I didn't expect Dagan or Ravis to make it either, but Dagan was a very good character, you know. Like, it kind of reminded me of Anakin in a way where he was kind of, I guess, he felt betrayed by the Jedi Order. That was a definitely good feature there. Like, just shows how easily even the greatest of Jedi can be corrupted by the dark side, and even a desire to do good can make someone evil, which is what Bendu talked about in Rebels 2, so that was really good. Yeah, what else was I talking about? Yeah, Ravis, him dying, I knew he wasn't going to make it, and I didn't think Bode would either. I did get spoiled of the twist, but it was still a good one. Still a good twist, still a good story, like, again, desire to do good. That's what Dagan and Bode's stories are all about in this game, so I thought that was really good. Just going to do a couple closing thoughts. My favourite part in this game was probably the Cal and Merrin sequence on Jeddah, where they're pretty much fast flying on Jeddah and taking out that big crane vehicle, whatever it's called, so I thought that was really good. But definitely let me know your thoughts below. If I missed anything, feel free to ask me in the comment section. But thanks for watching, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.